Hello, Nope Coach listeners. Welcome to episode 115, Using All Available Resources. So I'm going to start this episode with a story. Recently, I went for a walk. Kind of sounds funny. I walk most days. On a recent walk, I was chatting to my group. So I'm currently running a program called the Mighty 90, and we have a Voxer thread where we can chat, connect with each other. And I was listening to someone's message and I was responding, and I wasn't paying attention to where I was walking. And it wasn't long before I realized I wasn't familiar with where I was. I was like, nothing here looks familiar. So instead of opening up my phone to Google Maps or anything like that, I just decided to keep walking. And the further I walked, every now and then I'd be like, oh, that looks familiar. No, it doesn't. Oh, that looks familiar. No, it doesn't. And I was literally saying to the people in my group, I should just call up Google Maps and use that to get me home. I was like, no, I just keep going. Anyway, eventually I saw something that was familiar. And then I had that sinking feeling. I was like, I'm a lot further from home than I had anticipated. I'd lost my bearings and I'd walked a long way in the wrong direction. Thankfully, it's winter here, so it's not like it was overly hot, but it was still like, oh, there is a long way to go to get home. And the moral of this story is, how often do we have available resources there for us to use? I was literally talking on the phone in my hand, which I could have paused the talking, called up maps, typed in my home address, and plotted a course. But I decided, nah, she'll be right. That sounds very Aussie, doesn't it? She'll be right, mate. and at the end of the day, I was right. But I was also inconvenienced by being a lot further away from where I thought, and the whole process taking a lot longer. And I think this is such a great point for many of us. We often have the resources available to us, but we don't use them. A tool in the tool shed does nothing. So like having access to Google Maps, but not actually typing in the address and hitting start, did nothing. And it was such a great and a pertinent lesson, because at the time of this happening, we're about halfway through the Mighty 90 program. And how often do we start a program, we start a course with gusto, and we download all the material and we print out the booklet and we're all in, and then something happens and we invariably fall off the wagon, and then we berate ourselves. But we don't actually go, I still have access to these resources. Just because I've had a hiccup or a road bump or a pause doesn't mean I don't have access to the resources. And if it's a coaching program, you can come to a call, you can turn up to the call and say, look, I've been totally waylaid, and have the coach and you co-create together a new path forward, a new step forward, rather than going, well, I can't go because I haven't watched the program, I haven't listened to the materials, I haven't been taking action on it. Get coached on why you haven't and use that to move forward. Because if you're anything like me, you're often just convinced, it's the next thing. The next thing will have the answers. Because I didn't follow through this one exactly, there's something wrong with it, so I'm going to chuck this to the side and I'm going to do the next thing. What resources do you have available to you in everyday life? Like if there is a person that you could reach out to or you could connect with, or has offered support in the past and you haven't taken them up on it, how could you make the best use of it? Because what was amazing with all this happening, in the Mighty 90 program, is once we passed the halfway point, how many people just chalk it up and go, oh, well, it wasn't meant to be. But the people who doubled down and were like, actually, the time is now. What's that quote? The best time to plant a tree was 100 years ago or however long ago, and the second best time is today. So whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're wandering lost listening to this, much like I was wandering lost recently, pause listening to this, grab out your phone, Google Maps or whatever map form it is that you use, put your address in and plot your course back. Or if it's a book or something that you've started reading, like I used to for personal development books, start reading, get distracted because, I'm a bit of a book whore. Come back, start again from the beginning. Usually get distracted at the same place, start again from the beginning. So I've read like the first 3 chapters from a book umpteen times. Now I just pick up from wherever I left off. I trust that I got enough from what I've already read and keep moving forward. The same as if I join a group coaching program and stuff happens and my life falls apart. I just come back in, pick up from where I left off and keep going forward. Because when you have your own back and you use the resources that you have made available to yourself, that's when the transformation happens. It's not about information. It's not about learning the next thing. It's about making use of the things that you already have and making the best use of them. And yeah, if you're listening through to these episodes, like what I used to do when I listened to podcasts is I'd listen the first time and then go, I'll go back to that. I very rarely ever go back. Sometimes I do, but it's rare. So if you're listening to these episodes and things are coming up for you and you're like, oh yeah, pause, jot it down, use your journal, use notes on your phone, make some notes in the moment. And then you can always book in for Get Coached, which I run once a month or so. If you head over to the website, SuzanneCulberg.com, click on resources, there's Get Coached. Bring your questions, bring what's come up for you, bring what you've actioned to a call. Get some feedback, get some outside perspective so that you can, continue to use all available resources. Some of those resources will be free, like this podcast is free, and some of them will be things that you invest in, like Get Coached or any of my programs. But sometimes we think, oh, well, I've paid for that thing. As I said, a tool in the tool shed does nothing. If you own a lawnmower, but you don't actually take it outside and fire it up to mow your grass isn't going to get cut. So it's about, taking that ownership and responsibility without shame and blame. Life happens to all of us, but meeting yourself where you're at and not doing a Suze and going, oh, I'll be right, mate, when you're not. If the resources is right there, lean into it. That's what it's for, whether it be, an app on your phone or a coaching program. Use all the available resources and notice how you get there faster. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.